Well, hey, and welcome to another devotional dealing with biblical and theological FAQs. The question for today is, are there different levels of heaven? See, a lot of world religions teach that heaven is not just one place, but there's all kinds of various degrees and levels within heaven. In particular, in Mormon or LDS theology, there's a very strong belief in these different levels of heaven. And striving to attain the highest level of heaven is a very big motivating idea in much of Mormon theology and life. And so the question is this a biblical idea? Are there these different levels of heaven? Is there a highest heaven to which we should be striving for as Christians? What does the Bible say about this? Well, this question all revolves around one verse in the New Testament, 2 Corinthians chapter 12 and verse 2. Here's the verse that this idea comes from in the New Testament. It says this. It's the Apostle Paul speaking, and he says, I know a man who 14 years ago was caught up to the third heaven. Whether in body or out of the body, I don't know. God knows. And so the Apostle Paul is talking. He refers to this guy who was caught up to the third heaven. And so the assumption is, well, if there was a third heaven, there certainly must be a first level of heaven and a second level of heaven. And this lucky guy got to go all the way to the third level of heaven. So what does that really mean? Are there these different levels of heaven? Well, to understand it, you simply have to understand the cultural context in which this was written. Whenever you study the Bible, it's always very important to understand the culture and the context in which it was written in. And when Paul was writing, he was writing to a Greco-Roman culture. And in the Greco-Roman culture, like many other ancient cultures, they referred to the heavens, quote unquote. And there was a very common idea that there were these various realms beyond the earth that were all called the heavens. In particular, there were three main realms that people referred to as the heavens. The first realm was the sky, the blue sky and the clouds. And then there was outer space, the stars and the sun and so forth. And then there was the spiritual dwelling. The third realm was sort of the spiritual heaven where God and the angelic beings live. And so in the Greco-Roman culture, when the average person read that, they certainly wouldn't have thought of different levels of a spiritual heaven. They would have thought, just like everyone thought in the day when they talked about the heavens or different levels of heaven, that he wasn't being just caught up to the sky or just to outer space. He actually went all the way to the dwelling place of God. And so it's very simple to understand that verse once you understand the culture. And it's also significant to understand, if you look at the rest of the Bible, there is never any other reference to varying degrees of heaven. And so it's very important to let the Bible interpret itself. If there really was this driving idea, there's all these different levels of heaven that we need to be striving for the highest one, certainly God would have made that clear, but it's not referenced anywhere else. Now, what the Bible does mention is that there are different rewards that Christians can receive in heaven, and apparently some Christians receive more rewards than others in heaven. The Apostle Paul talks about this again in 2 Timothy chapter 4, verse 7 and 8. He talks about how there is in store for him now this crown of righteousness, which the Lord, the righteous judge, will award me on that day. So he's talking about when he goes to heaven, he's going to receive this reward, this crown of righteousness. And not just him, to others can also receive this award. Jesus himself talked about this in the very end of the Bible, Revelation 22, verse 12. Jesus said, I'm coming soon, and my reward is with me, and I'll give to each person according to what they have done. Now, clearly, Jesus isn't talking about rewarding with salvation, because he's made very clear in the Bible that salvation is not a reward, is something that you earn. Salvation is a gift you receive by faith. And so what he's talking about is, as we live fully for God, we can receive these rewards. Again, the Bible does not give a lot of clarity on this. I don't think we're meant to really focus on it, or the Bible would have told us more about it. But there are some reward in heaven. And so the main idea is to remember that heaven is the dwelling place of God. It's all about him, not about us. So I'd encourage you to think about this. What are you most looking forward to about heaven? And most importantly, why is it that you think that you will go to heaven when you die?